Hi, this is just a short introduction into macros and how powerful they can be to do some of the work for you basically. If you have any tasks that are manual and repetitive, then you should be using macros to do that work for you. There are a couple of ways of recording macros. Excel has a fantastic user front end that will record the macros for you, but effectively what happens when you use that is it records a lot of scary looking code in the background of Excel, which you shouldn't really have to concern yourself with, but you can go into that background code and manipulate it and make it do lots of much more clever things. But what I'm going to show you now is just how to use that user front end and how simple it can be. The data we have here is just a list of invoices, so we have the date the invoice was raised, the client it was raised to, what type of invoice it was for, and then the numbers of the invoice, the totals. Okay, you can use the filters here to see that in this list of invoices there are 3 different types, being consultancy, project and training. What you might want to do with this data is just generate an individual report for consultancy invoices. So what you can do is just filter on consultancy, copy and paste all of that data into a brand new sheet, and then just make the columns a little bit wider so you can see them all. So that is now an individual report of consultancy that doesn't include all the other different types. Okay, if you wanted to also generate individual reports for the other different types, you'd have to repeat that 3 times, which isn't a great task in this instance, but if you had 25 different types, then you could be there for some time, and that's where macros can really help, because they can do that work for you. Okay, so I'm just going to delete the sheet. Okay, so to record a macro, you need to go into the View menu at the top, and the very last icon is Macros. If you click on there, it gives you the option to view macros or record them. So we're going to record. We need to give the macro a name, so we'll call this project. Okay, so now this is recording, so it will basically repeat every single step that we now take. Okay, you can tell it's recording because down here on the bottom left there's a blue square, and that is the square that means stop. So once we have completed all of the actions, we then stop the macro from recording. Okay, so what we will do is literally just filter this column on consultancy, highlight all of the area, copy, create a new sheet and paste, make the columns a little bit wider, and then go back to the invoices, select the next project type, which is project. Again, just highlight all of the data and copy, create another new sheet, paste, make the columns slightly wider. Back to invoices, and we'll select that last type, which is training. Again, highlight all of the data. We need to keep highlighting the data because it'll pick up hidden rows that were hidden based on the different filters that we'd applied. So create a new sheet, paste, make the columns wider again, and then back to invoices. And then to say that we've finished the macro, we might just select all and stop the copy by pressing escape, and then we can press stop on the macro from recording. So now we should have some code that will repeat all of those actions for us. So to run the macro, we can go back to the View menu, to the macros, and we can do View Macros. The one we just recorded was called Project, so we can highlight that and click Run. And you'll see there that it's now created sheet 5, 6 and 7, which is for the 3 different types, which is exactly what we wanted it to. The other thing that you can do with macros is you can create a button that you can run them easier, and all that does, it saves you having to go to the View menu and then the macros and find the relevant macro to run. So what we'll do, create a button, we need to go to the Insert menu and Shapes, and then we can select any shape we like. So if we just choose the oval, drop it onto the sheet somewhere. If you right click on there, you can edit the text, so we can put in the name of project, so we know that this is the button to run the project macro. When you right click on that shape, you then get the option to assign a macro. So if we click on there, we then get to choose which macro we want to assign to that shape, so we'll have project. What you'll then notice is when you hover over that button, you get sort of a finger as though you can press that button. So when we click on there now, that will just run that macro for us. So it's now created sheets 8, 9 and 10. So you can see how if you had lots of projects there, it would save lots of time by running a macro instead of doing that manually. As I say, there are lots of more clever things that macros can do, but that all involves going back into the code in the background and developing that, which is a lot more tricky. But just to give you an example of how fantastic macros can be, I've created this one. What this one will do when we press it is it filters that report by individual client, copies the client invoice list into an individual file, saves that file, giving it a name of invoices and the relevant client name. It then attaches that file to an email, puts in the to box the relevant email address for that client, and writes the body of the email for us, including the first name of that client. So really powerful stuff. If you want to know any more about macros, then please don't hesitate to give me a shout. Thanks.